Cambodia on the red. I'm wondering if Saudi Arabia is going to walk away with an anomaly. And I'm talking about that chip. They're one of the few teams in all of WEC24, not just in women's, but even in men's, that got to play a chip. So Pink had her hands on one of the most broken heroes in the game through the run in the group stage. Now, it looks like Cambodia taking out the Jushin. They're a couple picks away, a couple bands rather away from still picking up that chip. I think this is a play that they can make for. I'm not so sure if that's something that Coach Taimigo from Cambodia is willing to slip through.
Yeah. The Jushin ban is a signal from the side of Cambodia that they are probably leaning into another high-loss rush for their first 2 picks. Not necessarily go high-loss Aurora again, but with Jushin off the board, you can go high-loss for your first 2. If not that, maybe either the Khalid or the Gatot, the likes of those 2 if they are open. Hayabusa getting taken away, respect for Tagami, but at the same time, you take away an assassin that could potentially match what a Fanny can bring to the table. A Fanny that can be prioritized by Saudi Arabia if they want. Again, these are the 2 teams that have shown Fanny in their lineups in IESF WEC24, so I would not take it away from them to actually be fighting for it.
Especially now that we see the Suyo being banned up by Cambodia. That dream is still alive.
The Fanny and the Nolan and the Alpha. Those are your power picks available. Coach Daliot here on the lead for Team Saudi Arabia, drafting away, making sure his players get the best equipped heroes going in. Saudi Arabia looking to... Are they going to leave open the Phoveus? They've always banned Phoveus here in this last slot.
That might actually be the case, but there's such a big trade of picks in the red side that banning out Phoveus might be a bit of an overthink. I know that's their tendency, as you mentioned, but yeah, they decided to take out the chip instead of actually potentially getting their hands on it. So one of the things that we've seen so far, teams banning out the chip blue side so that teams on the red side will really have to choose what to take out instead of defaulting to the chip. So in a way, you banning chip blue side is you trying to regain control of the draft.
Clearly, there are a lot of picks that can still be contested here, and if they don't go for the Alpha, if they don't go for the Phoveus, then that's something that they can contest and consider for themselves, which would be a more reliable hero that they could pick up in exchange.
Between the 2? The Phoveus and Alpha. I think in this scenario, you'd rather go for the Alpha. Instead.
That's what I say.
Because the Phoveus really... there are some lineups and times where the other team just will not have the right damage profile, but in the big picture of it all, just loses. It will probably shine individually, but the Alpha just make sure that you shine as a whole team.
Again, I'll stand by the fact that Alpha is the Alpha and Omega of the draft right now, especially in the jungle. More often than not, it's a stable hero. Damage profile, picks no day.
Fanny's open though.
Fanny's open, yeah.
Respect begets respect. Go ahead, pick it if it's available for you. Can't recall if we've actually seen Yue on the Cho, so go for the Phoveus instead. So Phoveus first pick means Cambodia will probably leverage Alpha plus either of the Power EXP Roam Flexes. High loss. They can go high loss Alpha here to really be a big pain on that Phoveus. But there have been some teams where once they see the Phoveus, they lock in a mid laner alongside the Power, and there it is. It's the Aurora Alpha, which will make Saudi Arabia think twice about going for the high loss now that they see the Alpha and the Aurora on the other side. Not that it's a counter to the high loss, more of just like it's kind of annoying for high loss to deal with. Definitely do not go for the Hilda. I think Gatot Kacha is what they might have their eyes set on, but actually no, they have to take the high loss. They have to take it.
High loss Nolan?
Yeah, I'm okay with the high loss Nolan or high loss Alpha. If you have it already with you, the high loss can protect the jungle for the... excuse me, high loss Fanny. If you have it already locked in for you.
Do you think it's too early to pick up the Fanny though, considering only 2 heroes have been shown from the side of Cambodia? I mean, there's still a Cho on the board.
Got the Nolan right.
Okay, there is a Nolan. Is it
Nolan
a
high loss? Oh no!
Oh, they go for the Eve instead. Okay.
Cambodia can high loss here. Just stop that Nolan dead in its tracks.
Yeah, you already immediately give the high invade combo.
And you work with the RWM.
They're not going to do that. Maybe they just think about picking up the Valentina now, or nope. For the Hilda instead in the EXP. You already see the matchup between the two. They said, hey, we don't need to pick the high loss, or Saudi Arabia might not even ban it, but they should.
They're showing a lot of emphasis on shutting down Rafa, right, on the Nolan. I think that's the direction that they're going for. Technically, Cambodia can still ban out the high-lows in the second phase if they want to.
No, it's open for them still.
Yeah, we want it for
Oh, they
Cambodia.
want to contest it.
Yeah, they want to contest it.
They'll waste Saudi's ban.
Yeah.
They're first on the clapback after the bans.
If they ban the high loss here, I would. I'm not gonna hate it, but I would kind of question it. At the same time, looking at the lineup of Saudi Arabia, high loss plus the Eve together, you can set up for a Harith gold lane. Maybe that's one of the thought processes that might be in their heads. So if Cambodia bans out the high loss, maybe that's where they're thinking at too. Take out the Tigreal because of the dive. They might be going dive here. Honestly, there have been Hariths that have shown that they don't care about real world manipulation.
Yeah, Cambodia might be the ones to pick the Harith here in Red 4 if KSA ban out the Hylos. Because they want to get rid of the Hylos if anything.
Yeah. It's a happy Phoveus, but a very sad Phoveus at the same time with the presence of the Aurora Alpha. That despite all the dashes on the side of Cambodia, as long as their gold laner has a right damage profile.
And Rafa's Nolan has no true targets as of the moment, right?
Yeah.
You have the Hilda, can get away from you. You have the Aurora, which has 2 life bars, basically.
It's not as clear-cut, definitely.
It just plays the map better.
Ooh, that's interesting. Saudi Arabia are the ones to actually ban out the Moskov here. That's a... I figured that maybe Saudi Arabia want to pick it up for themselves, seeing that despite being in a losing matchup, they still go for the Moskov. It's a huge power pick for Lunar.
Yeah.
But considering this Moskov being banned out, it does kind of make sense, right? It's a gold laner that can kind of stand on its own in the gold lane, especially against an assassin like the Nolan.
In the group stage, they have brought out a carry. So if ever there is a high loss from Cambodia here in Red 4, they can revert to the carry, and even if it is a out of meta pick, I don't see anything wrong with that here.
Ooh, they banned it.
They read into it!
Wow, okay. Gatot Irithel, high loss Irithel are options for Cambodia if it's not going to be the Harith that they go for. I'm thinking that either the...
Cambodia's telegraphing the high loss so hard.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Irithel or Harith for the gold lane, I feel like could work best.
For Saudi Arabia or Cambodia?
For Cambodia. Saudi Arabia, if they decide to go full aggro dive.
Can Lunar pick up a 1-1 here, ban out the Irithel?
Lunar, Irithel. Oh, it should be okay.
Yeah, my only problem with the 1-1 is the targets aren't ideal right now.
Yeah. Especially with okay, they ban out the Gatot, so one high loss Irithel or high loss Nathan, just Harith. Slug that in.
This high loss.
That's a shoe-in for early to mid-game power spike.
Yep. Literally almost nullifies Rafa's Nolan.
Yeah. I mean, I won't take it away from Cambodia if they say, hey, let's just pick Rafaela. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad pick too.
What else does she have in her?
Not so great against the
Edith Tigreal.
the Nolan.
Has she picked up the Hylos yet?
Oh. The hero I would rather not see picked into a Phoveus as the Arlot. Again, teams are starting to telegraph it a little bit more, where not all the time Arlot will lose to Phoveus compared to a month and a half ago. At the same time, you're a formation breaker. You could surprise setup. Maybe that's what they're running at. Thing is, who's going where? This is a... Are they playing the Hilda into the Roam instead?
No, I think it's Hilda XP.
Hilda XP and then Roam Arlot. Interesting flavor of choice.
So does Saudi pick up the high loss?
They have the Edith now.
Oh, there's no room. There's no room. That's definitely your roamer
Need the
there.
gold lane.
Probably. They can still pair it. It's a lot of magic.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
there's the
right.
1-1
For the
you
1-1.
mentioned for Lunar. I feel like the Arlot popping up just made the 1-1 an even better pick. Because if that was any of the slower, very frontline heavy roamers or frontliners that we mentioned, yeah. So they still lock in the Irithel. One pick off, just a different approach for the Arlot, which weirdly enough, again, feels like the 1-1's a bit happier. This feels very up in the air for me, just trying to run, like, especially with a roam mid trio duel, that is a battle of execution, 100%. For the two gold laners that are relatively safe, Irithel's happy against the Eve, 1-1 relatively up against the Aurora. It's just the others you have to avoid. It's up in the air for me.
The screen that went on before we start the game, I'm afraid that it is a roam Hilda. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I'm I'm not a fan. I would have rather the Arlott there. And then here we see if indeed it is an Arlott in the XP. I feel like Moshi might want to join fights more than she would enjoy being in the lane.
Yeah, it's definitely not hey, Phobius, let's just duel it out. I'm an Arlott. It's like, I'm an Arlott. I don't want to duel with a Phobius.
I don't want any of this.
I don't want any of this. He'll just constantly be resetting the effects with the dashes regaining the charges of the demonic force. Nope.
So I guess it's down to execution?
It's a weird plot twist for Cambodia, honestly speaking.
Yeah.
Okay. With that in the air right now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and get to our first game in this best-of-3 series between Cambodia and Saudi Arabia. Mirko, Naisu, take it away.
Thank you so much to the boys in the panel. Hey, thank you, Leo, Redmar, and also Eterna. It's
The boys.
Here, the boys now here on the stand with me, Mirko, and Naisu. Let's talk about that draft, man.
All right.
I think for Cambodia, what they had basically was a full counter kind of draft, right? They were looking at the Nolan. They're like, all right, let's pick up the counter to the Nolan. Pick up the Helda. The Arla as well is a great tool to go up against the Nolan. What's great against the Wanwan? The Irithal. But I agree with what Leo said, man. Maybe the placements of where these heroes are going is a bit kind of like shaky, right? Arlet against Phobius is a horrible lane, but so is Wanwan against Irithal. So maybe they're trying to just bounce that in. Arlet plays safe up top, wait for team fights. But ladies and gentlemen, here it is in a best-of-3, our second one today. It is us into the land of Dawn, Rafa on a signature assassin, but let's see how the hell that does in Rome, right? We have seen it more in the XP, but it's been a Rome pick for the longest time. Usually though, when you see it in Rome, you see it more with sprints, not with Revitalize.
Yeah, you know, I think I have to echo those concerns that our panel mentioned, and part of this could also just be, you know, Mochi. Whoa, okay, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Yui's gone. Even with the Revitalize, first of blood already for Rafa. I'm not sure what the game plan was there. Even without because you just mentioned it, without a vengeance, without a sprint, you're and if you get caught out, you're done for.
It was way too weird of a rotation. I think Uwe kind of opened up the purple buff, tried to predict that they were going to go on and start on the purple buff, and it failed to do that. Uwe, at least they get the lethal.
Yeah, she is back. That concussive blast won't get that little bit of extra damage, but this is what we expect from a Hilda, you know, this is this kind of pressure.
Yeah, but again, I feel like Uwe saw the purple buff, read into it, walked in, didn't see anyone there, rotated to orange, where again, should probably just stay in the purple buff when that happens, you know? Rotating over would just reveal too much of your game plan, and everybody was able to just rotate across the map. And especially considering, again, mid lane control is already held down by the Edith and Eve. They're going to have much of a better time here just shoving the wave in, unless Uwe comes in and rotates the mid. But then you are still not really a counter to Nolan. Now you're a counter to the Eve, and I think Eve can take all that smoke any day. Recall under turret, doesn't really need to farm all day, just shove wave and recall.
Yeah, that's all you kind of have to do. I think even with that, you know, the concern in this particular matchup, as we're going to look at, you know, for Mashi and Lyrics here, this Phobius versus Arlott, part of the job can just be, you know, let it be a dead lane for Mashi, so to speak, and then just rotate, join those fights, utilize that final slash the best you can, you know, and kind of play around that.
And I don't know, man, the pick, it seems to be very, very counter Nolan, but the positioning and where they're actually holding on to the map, Uwe is not doing it right now. She had the position on the orange buff. She knew that Nolan was going to come in, and now she's placing herself in towards the neutral objective where it's going to be a battle.
There's the toss up. Pink going to find it. RWM set up from Livin 2. Frigid Glacier going to freeze them in. UA will go forward, but she's going to be bursted down even with a Revitalize. Couple of hits, they'll buy some time. Finally goes down. Pink in the exchange as well, and there, Infernal Pursuit won't be enough. So it's only Yui that goes down and all that. Again, Revitalize a big part of it. So Cambodia will get the objective, and they just duke it out. You know, they just made things work, and it was unfortunate Saudi Arabia couldn't cap out the kills that they had set up.
Luckily for Cambodia, they still have an amazing composition when it comes to just team fighting here with the Arlet that we mentioned, the Aurora, and the Alpha, right? Alpha still clears really, really fast, and the fact that Rafa didn't get shut down in the early game is definitely a concern, but as long as Alpha continues to just clear out the jungle, get this level lead, and hold on to Turtles with the help of Arlet, should be really good. And again,
bottom looter in trouble. Already popped that sprint. Yui should go down here as Livin picks up the kill. Yui Fendi still trying to get away. There's the lockdown. A good Frigid Glacier, but Rafa will avoid it. Yui Fendi, pumped that sprint earlier, allowed them to go ahead and set up that kill to get Lunar down.
Yeah, the Irithel versus 1-1 matchup is certainly a very, very tough matchup for the 1-1 here. You essentially just need to farm at that point if you're the 1-1. There's no way they can actually outplay the Irithel if it's a 50-50, if you're both as good, is what I'm trying to say, right? And
yeah.
for Irithel, Yui Fendi, all you need to do, it's so simple. You have to be much better than the Irithel on the 1-1. She's got a Ducati, like
which is weird because we say sprint. Maybe we should, if it's a Ducati skin, maybe we should say she's Rev.
Yeah.
She's revving.
She's revving with a sprint. I don't know how that will work, but
I just thought about that just now, actually, because we've seen a couple, you know, Ducati Irithels come through, and yeah, I think sprint
all the
obviously.
Irithels.
Yeah, actually, all the Irithels. They're gonna make a play up top now. Lyrics, will she be able to survive this? Spear of Alpha gonna find the connection under the turret. Vengeance gonna be popped. Frigid Glacier won't find what they're looking for. Lyrics, she's still up. 1 versus 4. Here comes Rafa to come up and clean up a kill with a fracture. She picks up a blade of Hephaestus too. And I am so surprised that Lyrics survived that.
The Vengeance, the constant demonic force procs, and again, I feel like a bit of the lack of synergy there. A lot of miscoordinated timings on the abilities. Final Slash away from the Frigid Glacier. The combo just did not land, and it gave Lyrics just more time to actually rotate around, to just pop in front of Pursuit. Once you don't have the stun locks, you can just keep on tapping, man. That's all.
That's all you do.
That's all you do on the Phoveus. That's why it's a very, very big concern when you see the Phoveus pick, especially when you try to go up against, go up against it with an Arlet, right?
She doesn't even have a first. That's surprising, right? She doesn't even have a first item.
No item.
That was all Brave Smite and Vengeance.
That was just pure brute force, is what I like to call it, right? That was just Saudi Arabian power. Pink.
Going in for the setup. Yui trying to get away. RWM is set up, so those are some big, big usages coming out. Turtle's going to be started up though. Tagami waiting. She has the Spear of Alpha. Nami as well can actually initiate this fight if she wants to. We'll see if this time around they will land that combination, the Frigid Glacier, and hopefully the Final Slash doesn't take them out of it. Cambodia really taking their time with this turtle here. Well, she does go in. There's the Final Slash on Rafa. Rafa's going to be able to get away. There's also a 1v1 up top. Lunar will get that kill. And now Lyrics jumping in again with the Infernal Pursuit. Tagami secures the turtle, but Tagami finally goes down. And they're looking for more on the hunt. Conceal going to be used. I don't think Pink or Rafa can clean up another kill. So trading all over the map here.
I can't believe he just got outplayed like that. Nabi forced to flick around. Oh, pulled down.
Lyrics, she does get the passive. She's 1 hit away. Oh, Nabi will punish Lyrics from going into between the tier 1 and tier 2, but they will get that tier 1 turret in the mid down.
All right, nice. So let's calm down real quick.
What is
listen,
happening?
we gotta talk about it. Cambodia, we were talking about their composition being really good in these fights. They baited out RWM, no Primal Wrath, and they lost the 4v4. But I think what's more surprising is the Irithel lost in a 1v1 against the 1-1. Yui Fendi got soloed by the Lunar, by 1-1. She had Inspire. Did she have Inspire?
She did, yeah, she used it.
She inspired. She got to the last weakness point somehow, some way. I guess for Yui Fendi, maybe she used the heavy crossbow aggressively.
Yeah.
That's one of the only angles I can see as to how an Irithel would actually lose out of that matchup. So, possibly a mistake. Yui again on the Hilda. Ow.
She's gonna get chased down. RWM is just overloaded with damage. Granted, great usage just with real-world manipulation and Lyrics just dunking with the Infernal Pursuits here. This is getting really dicey for Yui because she's got 4 deaths. She even used a Revitalize there.
Not a good look, definitely, here for the Hilda Roam. We were talking about it already, right? XP lane is usually where we see her, so she can actually get more farm and get level 2 quicker, and then rotate across the map and look for plays. Look to shut down the Nolan. I think that's the big question. Rafa, it has not been shut down.
Rafa, is this actually... Oh, Final Slash. Not going to connect on Rafa. Rafa just gets away. Of course, she had to use the Fracture, but right now the focus is tier 1 turret. Lyrics might be able to get there in time, but turret's going to go down. Rafa, the damage is quite there. Not enough, though, to clean up the kill, and now this time, Rafa trying to buy some time. Lyrics a little bit too late. Great usage, again, of that sprint, that rev we were talking about this time around for Yui Fendi.
Wow, Rafa escaping from all those skill shots, dodging away, and then walking back up into the turret. Man, definitely too aggressive. Nabi got assassinated by Lunar. Pops in the Inspire. What happened, Nabi? A bit overextended as well here. No turret in the mid lane, so definitely overstepping without the help of a traditional roamer. Because again, Yue is playing in the flanks. Tagami.
They're going to go for Tagami. Tagami in trouble, trapped in the RWM. Again, she falls. And now Yui Fendi trying to fire off the heavy crossbow in the backside. Livin and Lunar trying to get away. They disengage. Rafa sees them in their sights. Is she going to go in forward? Moshi tries to keep them at bay. She'll do that. They're going to be resetting here. We might be in store for a Lord fight. Full-on fight here, waiting for Tagami to come up. But they're just going to give it a go signal. Green lighting the Lord. They'll start it up. Saudi Arabia wants the objective, and without the jungler of Cambodia, they can't do anything about it.
They can just take it down. Really good stuff from Saudi Arabia, really punishing all the unnecessary moves and overextensions from Cambodia here. A bit too overconfident, definitely there. Tagami just walking into that bush knowing that Navi was just picked off in the mid lane.
Yeah.
So walking into that bush, knowing that most of the members were already there to look for a counter setup, to look for an ambush as well. And the fact that they still went on to chase. You can see how Saudi Arabia are just able to build their lead. So far, they've just been capitalizing on the mistakes of Cambodia, and that's really good for Lunar especially. This is a losing matchup against the Iritha, but Lunar has been phenomenal on this 1-1 pick. And now, notice how they're managing the waves. Really good stuff. Bottom lane will just slow push. They will shove into mid and top to push in together. Oh. And that's a Sky Piercer for Rafa. The final slash for Moshi.
Yeah, Moshi just trying to clear that up. Wow. Last little powered minion there. Lunar gonna go really forward. Pops the crossbow of Tang. Does a little bit of damage, and there's the RWM again. Tagami jumps in on the backside. They get frozen right, caught in the choke point. Lunar still keeping Tagami at bay. Pink fell in the exchange, and Rafa goes in to clean up a kill on Yui Fendi, and now on the hunt for Moshi as Moshi falls. A double, a big pickup for Rafa.
That's 2 stacks on the Sky Piercer for Rafa. The cleanup crew with real world. Oh!
Under the turret they go. They pop the passive of Navi. Navi in trouble as Lyric will clean up that kill. Turret's gonna go down, and Yui in trouble as well as she's taken out of the picture. Tagami left all by herself, and Saudi Arabia will just work on the base. They might get a kill, they might not. Minion's gonna be cleared out, so Cambodia will stay in it. Still one wave pushing in top and mid. But it looks like Cambodia stays in the game.
That's still ridiculous value for the first Lord, man. Kraken open a base turret, all the tier 2s down as well. Oh, Lunar might be able to get the outplay. She's already gotten the last 2, or the last 1 weakness point you need, and that's the one behind them. Tagami's got to respect this. Lunar is at a very, very strong point of the game right now. Tagami still gets it. All right, no punish from Saudi Arabia. All right, so let's talk about it right now. Far lane control, definitely going to go towards Saudi Arabia, not just because they have the super minions, but they also have the Nolan. So in terms of mobility across the map, Cambodia really won't be able to match the side lane pressure. They'll be able to clear it out once, but it's an auto slow push every single time. So not only can Saudi Arabia take control of the Lord, that's going to be spawning in 30 seconds, but they can also just try to look for a split push in the bottom lane.
I'm impressed, you know? Saudi Arabia has still really kept their tier 1 mid lane turret from basically taking no damage. They maintain that, and that's what gives them that little bit of an upper hand.
Unbreakable.
Yeah, unbreakable. Gives them that little bit of upper hand into this next Lord. You know, we're 15 seconds away, and Cambodia, they might want to look for their own pick-off if they can, just to give them that little bit of advantage. Yui Fendi will pick up the Malefic gun. She's ready to go, locked and loaded. But I still think, you know, one of the biggest weak points here with this lineup is that Hilda, how do you get to where you need to be in a team fight? Hopefully also because we see a lot of backline pressure, but then at the same time, she's the revitalize. You also need to provide that for the team, and this Lord is just gonna get blitzed right now. Saudi Arabia making quick work of the Lord, and nothing can be done from Cambodia, so Rafia will secure that. Now Saudi Arabia with a full force will get ready to march in the base.
That's the force error we were talking about, with the super minion wave constantly spawning in the bottom lane, shoving it in, actually slow pushing it in towards Cambodia. They have to choose whether they want to go bot, concede their neutral objective, or to stay decisive, fight for a neutral objective, and maybe possibly lose the game towards an end from Rafa. In the end, they chose to just defend, the safer option in the bottom lane. Now they're going to have to deal with Enhanced Lord, though. And at the minimum, I would say, if Saudi Arabia are able to manage the waves in time, it should be the last 2 base turrets falling down as well. In Cambodia, in terms of clear, they're really not too good, you know? Yui Fendi, probably the only guy can actually be the clearer.
Yeah.
Navi's more of a team-fighting mage, not a good wave clear tool for Cambodia.
They're gonna have to make this work. Lord down on the bottom side, all waves pushing in mid and top. There we go. The final slash already used from Moshi. So they'll make work. They clear out a wave. They clear out the Lord. Cambodia still holding it together for now. I'm not sure if Saudi Arabia actually wants to force a fight. Next wave's now pushing in and powered up. They dropped to RWM. They want to force them off of the turret. And that mid-base turret finally goes down. And next site, the top. Can Cambodia continue to defend?
I don't know about it. It looks really, really tough. Counter Flash connects, but it's only on the Pink.
It's only on the Pink. Pink jumps in. Look at the damage already. Flicker. Navi's still alive. She still has the pass to finally be a top. Pink could be a trouble. And Navi finally goes down, and Rafa will get punished. Cambodia trying to defend. Tagabi jumps on in. They're falling apart here as they run them on down. Yui Fendi trying to get back to base, dealing with Lyrics. Has to rely on Tagami. Tagami jumps in. They have enough damage, and they will survive. It's a double for Yui. They wiped out Saudi Arabia, and Cambodia survives and makes the favor for them.
The angle? No, it's unendable. No, they cannot go for the end right now, but the waves in the mid lane surely could be cleared out. They can probably get 3 turrets here. Mid lane, bottom lane, possibly with the wave there, but unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be able to manage it in time. Tier 1 and Tier 2 is probably the best that they can get at this point, right? No more outer turrets in the bottom lane.
Yep.
We'll see, though. Rafa and Pink are up. 2 base turrets down. They will be looking, 2 turrets down. They'll be looking to go towards the bottom lane to get the outer turret, but the base turret's still left untouched for Saudi Arabia. Cambodia are unable to get there.
Okay, they tried to give the orange buff. Not going to happen. Rafa takes that, secures it with the retribution. We're 20 seconds away from the next Lord. But with that defense, there's a conceal. Do they want to force the fight? They didn't want to let them go back to base. Yui in trouble. They drop down the Frederick Glacier, and Rafa goes for Yui Fendi, but she pops the Wind of Nature. She's still alive. Moshi finally falls. Saudi Arabia still full force. They took 2 members of Cambodia down. The conceal play worked for Saudi Arabia. Now the Lord is up.
Look at the timing. Lord is up, but they want to just go for the base.
They're just going to go for it. Tagami, defensive spear of Alpha. Lunar leading the charge. She pops the Wind of Nature. Yui's gone. She's taken out of the game, and that might be it as Saudi Arabia just takes the win. They take the base, and they'll take game number 1.
GG Saudi Arabia. You can hear the crowd go in support for Saudi Arabia with a win here. 1-0 up in a best of 3 against Cambodia's full counter draft. But it was misplaced. Again, I think the way that they played it as well, man, very disoriented. The Hilda, all the way from the start, dying first blood, not able to get any pressure down on Nolan. And we saw just how much of a threat Rafa was in the early game. That's not really what I expected after seeing the Hilda on the other side. Alpha pick into the Hilda, you see the Nolan, you're just like, oh, Nolan's gonna have a tough game. But we didn't really see the Nolan struggle at all. Rafa played it well, just kept on in the jungle, and she didn't overthink it. A lot of Nolans, even up against a Hilda like that, right? Where the Hilda doesn't constantly just camp in your jungle.
Yeah.
You would overthink. You'd be like, all right, she's there somewhere. I'm gonna rotate somewhere else. I'm trying to outthink the Hilda. She didn't do any of that. She just looked at it straightforward. Go in for farm, go in for neutral objectives. Hilda was not a problem in the fights, and boom bang bada bing is what we usually say.
Boom bang bada bing, and it worked because I think Yui, she was fairly aggressive early on, and so that was also a punishment. And I think Lyrics definitely, at least for game 1, MVP because she was able to do so much. Rafa, amazing as well.
Phenomenal performance, man. We're going to throw it over to our panel here, Mr. Renmar, Leoman, and also Eterna. Take it away. Did you like that game?
Thanks, boys. I'm gonna throw it over to our analyst here. Did you guys like that game?
He comboed the transitions. Take it away, and how do you like that?
How do you like that? How do you like that, boys?
Don't like. All right, I'm gonna be frank. All right, I love I love Team Cambodia. I don't like what they did in that last phase. That's one. Number 2 is I'd like for them to take away whatever is making them think twice. A lot of what happened in the first phase going into second feels like they're overthinking. And it carried on into the game.
Yeah. I feel I cannot help but keep going back to the R-Lot, but then you pointed out something to us that maybe Cambodia doesn't have the high-loss roam in their pool, because earlier that we even saw that it wasn't a high-loss roam, it was a high-loss EX from Cambodia. And Saudi Arabia, they just played everything so well. From the micro to the macro, even though they got relatively punished here early on, eventually you got to see, again, the age-old interaction not age-old, but Phoveus Arlott. Phoveus loves going up against Arlott, and in every team fight, Phoveus just lived a little bit longer because every time Moshi would use the Vengeance, every time Moshi would proc a little bit more return of the cooldown of the Phoveus, get that enhanced basic attack, so you get that knockback effect. It just bought time, all the time, that Saudi Arabia needed to make sure that Rafa can go in for the sweep, late entry, for Lunar to be able to get those weakness points hit, and for Livin to be able to free hit. However, they were still susceptible to getting counter punished and overheating, and that's what we saw in this push.
This was the one moment where it looked like, hey, maybe Team Cambodia can make it work, but I think the time has passed, and even up until this point, the 14-minute mark, a little bit of overthinking still remained, and that was evident because here in this fight, you'll see how they were pushing Yui out too far, which got punished hard by Team Saudi Arabia. And if you have a Nolan that's as locked in as Rafa was, it's very hard to lose. 11, 2, and 3. She did more than fit into the windows of the Alpha on Tegami. She punished them hard. It's this way that the Nolan plays that makes me think, yeah, it's closer to a 50-50, but if the Nolan has better macro, the team doesn't even regret letting the Alpha through.
I agree. It's also important to note that in a lot of these exchanges, especially I think before the second Lord, I would say, Rafa was working with like 1 and 2 levels below of Tegami, but the way that they played out into the objectives, they still went in for the objectives, they still wanted to go for the contest, but they were very specific with the strategy, with how they went in. There were moments where they took out Tegami first, and then of course the level gap doesn't even mean a thing, and then they were able to get the objective. It's the decision making in these really important moments that I do want to applaud Saudi Arabia for, that I feel has progressed so much, has developed so much since the last time we saw them in the group stages.
And it's this play style, it's this showing that made me say they're so polished. They have such a great grasp of the macro, and I'm pretty sure a good chunk of that is thanks to their coach, Coach Dalion. I'm pretty sure he goes into the nitty-gritty of each of the ladies' needs when it comes to their farming phase, to their mid-game phase, to their late game. Because we talk about Rafa, we talk about Luna, we talk about Livin. How about Lyrics? That moment wherein 4 members ambushed her in the top lane, and they regret attacking Lyrics, and Lyrics is the one who gets away with the kills, and she gets away scot-free.
Yeah, again, that's what we mentioned in the draft. When you rush the Phoveus first pick with the likes of Alpha still available, there is actually a chance that the team on the opposing side, on the red side, won't have the right to make sure that the Phoveus goes down quick enough, and that was like the perfect example for it. As the game went on, then we just realized how well Livin and the Eve meshes well with the Phoveus, with the Wan, with the Nolan, with the Edith, with the entire lineup, that Cambodia felt like they were just dealing with way too much for a lineup that isn't ready for it. That the best way, really, that they could come back for this was to punish. Once that box is gone, once Primal Wrath was activated, once Crossbow of Tang was done for, and the Irithel was still alive, because that Irithel was the heart, the beating heart of the Cambodian lineup, which unfortunately just wasn't set up for success enough. Yui Fendi had to crawl to get the items and the damage that she could eventually deal.
She lost a couple of one-on-ones too.
She lost a couple of one-on-ones too up against that 1-1, so it just goes to show that despite Alpha being the Alpha and Omega of the draft, there are still certain approaches and ways that you can go for it, so that if ever the Alpha still gets rushed, then you still make sure that the Alpha actually doesn't get to shine.
Yeah, you gotta build on the Bravo, the Theta, the Zeta within the Alpha and Omega, and I think that's where Cambodia lacked. And now that you mention, it's not spelled out that maybe Yui can't play the Hylos, but now it's a glaring weakness.
It's a question mark.
It was a clear call. You've seen it over and over again. You go from anywhere, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, North America, a Hylos in the face of a Nolan, the Nolan just folds. So that could have been the easy answer, but here they pick the Arlott, and I can't help but think the reason why Saudi Arabia felt like such a powerhouse here, and that's why they were always on top and a step ahead macro-wise, is because Cambodia didn't even have the tools to deal with what they were bringing. Cambodia was playing with, what, not a full deck. All this while, Saudi Arabia were on a one-track mind. They were so fixated on sometimes not even the objectives, but the trade out, which allowed for them to get on top come the mid game.
Yeah, although we have seen in the past that I get the Arlot pick, although we're both in agreement here that that should have been something else. There were scenarios where the Arlot got past the even the formation, it made Saudi Arabia react. But breaking through the formation and just those surprise initial setups, once you would get that final slash on as a turnaround tool, it's not going to be enough. Eventually, you're still giving into the Phobius. We go back to the core of it all. In the world, I guess you could, I feel like if there was an actual stat line we could follow, it's like 95% of Phobius and Arlot matchups globally in the pro scene goes to the Phobius.
Yep.
Their kits interact that way. Arlot likes to dash from target to target with the vengeance marks. Phobius likes to chase after him.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Which is why I really want to bring this to the light, right? I want to bring this to the surface right now. This is a matchup that is super tight. It's super close in terms of micro skills, in terms of macro. Obviously, there are some differences between these two teams, but this is one of those matchups where we're like, okay, this might go either way, and it's all going to come down to the drafts. How will the coaches be able to give these players tools in order to secure the winning condition and find this next game? It's so close. I'm excited to see how this chess match goes as we get into the second game. The big question is, can Saudi Arabia close this 2-0, or will Cambodia be able to force it to a game number 3? And it's going to come down to the drafts. This time, KSA is still going to be on the same side as we saw earlier for our first game. And the Matilda once again comes through.
Yeah, if I'm Saudi Arabia and it's available for them, still go ahead and pick up the Eve. Cambodia defaulted into picking up the Aurora early, but I wouldn't knock them for taking away what was a great pick for Livid in game number 1. Swap out the Eve and Aurora Rush, although, to be fair, Nabi did have some good freaking glaciers under the real world manipulation that might not be too warranted. Based off of the heroes that we've seen UE play, you understand now why Jushin is definitely a prio ban for them red side, and that Saudi Arabia won't see their hands on it.
Yeah, she likes to live in the paint.
Yeah.
She likes to get in your face, and some way, somehow, the rest of her team should find a way to get in there. If you can punish that, then that's your key.
If they still ban the Hayabusa here, as they did earlier, I feel like that's just another clear sign that they're still going to end up with an even the mid.
That's
They-
definitely possible.
They can actually, here's the thing. If this draft goes similar to game 1, then Saudi Arabia can check and force Cambodia to respond.
Yeah.
Like, you're in control in blue this time.
But in this case, maybe they want to go for something different, right? Maybe the high-lows in the first few moments of the picks.
Yeah.
Maybe they experimented a little bit in that first game. Maybe they do still have the high-lows in their kit for their roaming position, but we're just not aware of it just yet. Cambodia with the Suyo ban as well. This is looking like it might be very similar to our first game.
Haya. This has to be the Haya if we're going the same way.
If they want to, if Saudi Arabia wants to go for a completely different banning pattern, they can surprise and ban out the Kali last, because that was the third ban of Cambodia.
Or the Hilda for something new out of Cambodia.
Or for something new, that's a possibility too.
I think the Hilda ban from KSA would open up some assassins from Cambodia.
Yeah, the Hayabusa, the Nolan, the Fanny. Fanny didn't get banned or picked last game.
Still high, yeah. But yeah, KSA can rinse and repeat. Cambodia might actually think about, maybe we should ban the Phobius. Because even though that they have the Alpha, the Aurora, and historically that might make the Phobius struggle, Cambodia showed that right now they don't have the firepower to deal with it. Even though the carry would have been struggled big, carry has a damage output to go up against Phobius, and they banned it on the red side. So if I'm Cambodia, just take out the Phobius. Make sure it doesn't end up in the hands of Lyrics.
Lyrics definitely
Oh,
owned the
okay.
mid-game.
Oh yeah, for sure. Completely forgot that Rafa had an absolutely monster game in game number 1. So well warranted third ban for Cambodia.
So does Rafa go Phobius or Alpha? Or I mean, does Saudi Arabia? Because you can, still put the Phobius and Lyrics, call it a day.
Yeah. Manos gone, Phobius, Alpha. Yeah. It just boils down to that. They can surprise and rush Hilda, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Cambodia decides to pick the Eve at the moment they see something like a Hilda already on the other side.
My big question for Rafa is, what do you have to play? Because Nolan's gone, Hayabusa's gone,
Suyu's gone.
and the only hero she's picked up other than that is
Fanny.
yeah, Suyo, Fanny.
Oh, still two very good options. So, oh, they go for the good thought.
That's a phase 2 ban from game 1.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay, they pick it up early.
They're trying to turn off the. They're trying to turn off Cambodia from the idea of picking Eve now.
Because I'm pretty sure Cambodia felt the sting of that Eve.
Yeah.
Looking at the team fight from game 1, the Eve compromised almost everything they wanted to do.
Yeah.
If Yui Fendi wasn't even in range for that heavy crossbow, forget about it. And that's what ruined a lot of what Cambodia did. There's the Aurora. This is the box they chose. This is the bed they're going to make and live in.
I think they could still go down the same route. Still Alpha High loss, the priorities for Cambodia. Now it's Saudi Arabia thinking, should we still Eve?
But this is the big change, right? This is what you wanted to see in the first game.
We
Yeah.
wanted to see it in the later half because that's where it was spelled out. Now it seems like Cambodia's overcommitting to the high loss, and all the more Saudi Arabia can actually answer. But is that what they want to do? Are they saying, hey, bring out the carry early now? If that's what you want to do, that's how you want to answer this high loss.
They can go Harith, Eve, or maybe even surprise and not play the Eve and they go Vexana if they want to. I don't know, something about the Saudi Arabia lineups. Okay, no. Still Moskov. Moskov, and there it is.
That's a 1-2 right there.
Yeah.
Picking up the counter and the problem.
So now Cambodia has not a lot of picks that can play the map. They're probably just going to get out macroed right now. Because Cambodia's first two are very team fight heavy. It's clear cut what you want to do. If they want to match that, but it's still going to absolutely suck for the hero that I'm going to suggest, you go Claude, but I mean,
Ooh.
that's rough, buddy. They're going to have to win around like skirmishes, engages. Hopefully that they can actually invade. First 3 picks of Saudi Arabia was great.
Okay, it makes sense now. I mean, technically what Cambodia have right now is quite good, right? Against the Fanny, you have the Aurora that has a little bit of a second life. You have
Yeah.
the Hylos
Yeah.
with a single target, and
The
the Hilda
Hilda.
to go in for aggressive invades into the enemy jungle that the Fanny can be susceptible towards.
Yeah, and for sure that's probably going to be a Rome Hilda again.
Yeah,
right?
Rome Hilda, XP, Hylos, going up against what might be the Gatot. So that means Saudi is still hiding what Pink is going to be playing.
What are the options for Yui Fendi though? I'm still thinking about it.
Against that Moscow.
Because her Moskov's taken out, which was her safest bet against the Fanny in the gold lane.
I hope we don't see a Bruno, but them taking out Eve, other than it being respect, might actually be just that. Again, even though you have an assassin on the other side, I still am a believer of you want to track down the Fanny every time she enters, you pick Beatrix. Every time you enter, as long as the Beatrix gets the farm and she has her items, the Fanny will suffer damage.
Yeah, one of the few times Wesker might actually matter.
Yeah, if not Wesker, well, heck, even the Bureau does so well with already,
With a-
like, you force the Fanny down to like 50%, and she's like, do I still really want to cable it in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out.
Especially when you get that BOD on.
Yeah.
And it looks like Saudi's attacking the jungle. We still do not know what Tagami will be playing. Still, the Alpha is left out there.
We did see a Fredrin earlier.
Oh.
Does Cambodia have the Fredrin or the
Oh.
Bane?
Oh,
Both are
yeah.
solid right now.
Cambodia has Lancelot, Fredrin, Baxia Alpha, Hayabusa, Ling, and Fanny.
The problem with that is if they go Fredrin, their mage isn't built for that. She's more control than she is damage. And that might come back to haunt them.
Then go Bane.
If they go Bane, yeah, they don't have to worry about the E.
They have the front line to help.
Oh, that might
the
actually
hold.
pop up, yeah. It then might be Bane or...
The only fear for Tagami is that Gatot, but who follows up after the Gatot?
Oh, no, but the Valentina would be available for a KSA if ever that's the case.
But again, it depends. It depends on this last ban from KSA, right? They could potentially not even ban out the Alpha, and the Alpha still remains the choice for Cambodia to pick up in the jungle.
But if that happens, a lot is on Yui Fendi again. So all the more the pressure is on the young Cambodian gold laner. It's the same story as game 1, so she has to carry that weight going into this match point. Again, this is elimination point.
I wonder how the Brody does against the Moskov in the lane. Because that's all I can think of against the Fanny.
I think it does okay. not a gold lane specialist, but I've played a few Brody in my day, so
Oh, take away the Harris too. You know, just go Bea, please. Beatrix out of everyone should do really, really good. If not in the laning, at least just make sure you can cross into that. If you go Bea, you'll be lacking magic somewhat because Aurora and Hylos are the only thing that you see in terms of magic damage output. But Beatrix is still a Beatrix in terms of the damage. You'll just expect that the Fanny's gonna build it one defensive item that might help mitigate the damage. But oh, that's the pick
Yeah, comfort.
that
They're
I
going for comfort.
Yeah, that's the one that I was hoping that they wouldn't.
it's so spelled out. It's basically protect the Bruno up until you can't anymore. Still, you don't know what Tagami's playing. Could be another solid damage source. We established that the Aurora is more utility. Can't rely on her for burst.
Let's circle back to the final two picks for Saudi Arabia, though. We're supposedly lacking either EXP Rome and, of course, their mid laner.
You know, there's not a lot of backline access. Oh, they can still go Julian for Cambodia.
Oh, jungle, yeah.
Yeah, Vexana, what we called earlier, CC.
Because there's no burst.
Yeah,
The damage profile dictates it again.
it's gonna be a vengeance. CC, so jungle. That's tough.
You want a Julian?
I think the Vexana's solid against the Hylos as well.
Yeah. I think at this point you just go for Julian, hope you can snowball, get that magic damage in you because it literally cannot be another physical that might take time. You need a fast clearing, fast rotating, quick scaling jungler.
Oh! Oh!
Better for the macro. Definitely protects you, Fendi, for when it matters.
Debut YSS in the jungle.
We've seen a few YSS in the wild leading up to WEC.
But that is not going to be happy against a Fanny.
No, not going to be happy against the Fanny, not against CC.
This is one of the reasons why YSS fell off the meta, right? The rise of assassins in the jungle.
Yeah.
And just more harder to hit, harder to kill targets.
It's all up to Nabi and Yui to really hold the fort down. They're going to have to play the most patient game of their lives.
It's
go
all on
big.
Yui. It's all on Yui Fendi right now.
Yui Fendi. It's go big or go home as well, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, we are at match point at this point, right? One team will have to bow down here in the lower brackets, and if Saudi Arabia can claim this next series, then we have to say goodbye to Cambodia, one of the tournament favorites coming into WEC. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to throw it over to our casters. Mirko, Naisu, what do you think about the YSS in the jungle?
That's a good question, Eterna. That is a very good question. We were here just debating about the Yi Sun-shin, you know? Naisu said, I don't know about the Yi Sun-shin, man. And I was like, yeah, I don't know either, man.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's a comfort pick. Maybe it's a comfort pick at this point of the game, right? It's match point for you. You might want to lean on comfort. But they said it all. Fanny. This is Yi Sun-shin up against a Fanny.
Yeah.
Early game dominance, turtle control, everything isn't really going to be on your side, so they're fighting against the odds now.
It's been a minute, man, since we've seen this Yi Sun-shin.
When
And
was the last time?
I don't know. It's been a long minute.
It's been a long minute. It's been an hour maybe in your time. Nice. So we're going to get into the land of Dawn, ladies and gentlemen. Saudi Arabia with match point 1-0 in a best of 3. And unlike the first match we saw, this is an elimination match. If you lose here, if Cambodia loses here, they're out of the tournament. There's no more chances. This is already their second chance. And let's see, for Tagami, at least when it comes to clearing, she's okay. Like Yi Sun-shin, I've tried it myself as well. Yi Sun-shin isn't bad when it comes to clearing. As long as you get your passive back and forth, you do quite well in the jungle.
It's weird because now that we have a Suyo, like in the game, it almost feels like YSS is like this discount Suyo in a way.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Especially with the arrow.
Especially with the arrow, but you have the advantage of at least you can provide vision to your team. A lot of this early aggression already unbreakable. There's the revitalizes both sides of the map. They're going to actually go down a little bit. No one falling. That's what we expect when you have these revitalized and these tanky members for both sides. But you know, going back to it, I'm really wondering how this is going to work this time around for Tagami. Obviously, she's a very skilled player, but she's picking up a hero that has somewhat fallen out of the current meta, and she's got to make it work.
It's a very, very tough hero to pull off, but if we're talking about the side lane control of Saudi Arabia, I understand why they went for the Yi Sun-shin. The Mountain Shocker is the best utility tool in the game. It's a global vision tool, technically, right? So if they were having problems just controlling the side waves, that we saw towards the end of game number 1, where they got the super mini wave in the bottom lane after taking the base turret, yeah, I would see it, but Rafa
not going to land that cable. She's going for Yui. Yui finally going down. First blood in the hands once again for Rafa here. Showcasing just how strong she is on these assassin junglers. Really good start for them.
We already saw how good Rafa can be on a Fanny. Now it's time for Tagami to show the world how good she is on the Yi Sun-shin. As expected, though, the Fanny will be the one leading at the start of the game here. It'll really be about getting into the mid game for me for the Cambodia's composition, right? They have Uwe, they have Navi, and they also have Moshi, who can try to hold on in the early game, but it all comes down to the 2 marksmen. These beefy frontliners in the mid-game will kind of struggle, I would say, to go up against a lot of the burst, a lot of the consistent damage that's here, because that last pick CC was definitely an X-Factor pick, right? It was so good. They finally have someone else that can actually deal with the frontliners. So Livin doesn't really need to fully care about that, and Lunar can just continue to farm, doesn't need to participate in the fights too early on. They can always just rely on CC when it comes to these big, chunky boys. So let's see, turtle number 2, or turtle number 1 rather, contested, Tagami on it.
Tagami going to start it up. Lyrics going over to the side. Mountain Shocker to provide that vision we were talking about. They're going to go in for the Retribution battle. Tagami will secure the turtle. Spirit of Destruction going to land too. Not sure if they follow it up. No one falling just yet. Just forced out of here. Yui trying to get away. Does have that speed boost. Now Rafa won't be able to follow through. So ultimately you have an objective secured for Cambodia.
Good control from Tagami and Cambodia. Tagami was just on it, obviously solid Retribution, but the rest of the team zoning Saudi Arabia so well there in the turtle fight. Definitely shows you that for now, Lyrics is actually kind of struggling to go up against the Yi Sun-shin. I think the job desk here has got to be clearer for Saudi Arabia, right? For Lyrics, do you want to shred down the front line and play it front to back for your team, or do you want to be the one joining in the back line and actually targeting Tagami and Yui Fendi? Because I think for the CC, at least in the early game, you would have more success just going and chunking the frontliners over going into the back line.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, especially to an extent you could, but you always have to remember that we've seen this now quite a few times where you have double revitalize for a team. And so even if Lyrics decides to jump in, you know that maybe the job is just to get one of those down, or maybe get enough of that attention towards you, then you can allow, you know, that jump in from Pink maybe, or even an Eternal Guard knockup to help set things up. I think Lyrics is can be a little more creative than what she showed us in the previous game when she was the Phoveus, because of just how the CC plays into, you know, this matchup specifically against Cambodia. The other thing too, and maybe this was part of the plan where, you know, because we don't see the YSS too often, maybe this was just that counterplay of, well, at least I can get vision for my team. With the Mountain Shocker, they're actually going to force Rafa off the orange buff. They're still going to fight for it though. Again, Revitalize being used up by Yui. There's the jump. Avatar the Guardian going to be able to find 2. Navi could be in trouble. She's still got the passive. Rafa will jump in, but she won't be able to get a kill. Tagami still alive for a little bit longer until she finally goes down. Trading happened already, 1 for 1. Rafa jumping back in. She's a little bit low on health, so she doesn't want to fully commit. So the 1 for 1 trade for both teams.
Lunar is in the mid lane though. Looking to get a few more shots down. Well played to Saudi Arabia. Despite being invaded, despite losing a lot of HP on Rafa early, they were able to make the best out of that situation, I would say. Finally getting a kill onto Tagami that will definitely slow down a bit of that mid-game power spike that is to come for Cambodia here. And the fact that they pushed in mid, getting a few shots there was also solid. Now I think they just gotta keep on scouting Uwe. Well, we can already see that power spike for the Yi Sun-shin, right? The Mountain Shocker is starting to hurt. It is a great poke tool, but even more so than just being a poke tool, it's better for vision. As long as you know where the Fanny is, you really don't have to you know, scout in. Uwe just can always match that movement from her. And you can see it already. Uwe just controlling the bottom side, knowing that she was last seen in the purple buff. This should be easily controlled by Cambodia to set up for the next neutral objective. And Tagami is 2 levels ahead of Rafa on the Yi Sun-shin. The farming power of the Yi Sun-shin really showing here in game number 2.
It's really showing how strong that still can be, especially depending on the draft that you bring to the table. And Tagami hasn't had to worry about too much. Mostly it's just, yeah, providing that vision. She's going to start up the turtle here. And you have right on the whims, Rafa just waiting patiently. Lyrics, once again, looking for the same angle as last time. Moshi will actually be the one to secure the turtle, even though the retribution used up by Tagami. So there you go, Cambodia really locking in on objectives, and they don't have to fight if they don't want to. Part of it is just play that waiting game and let them scale up the way they need to.
And if you play the scaling game, it'll definitely be very good for Cambodia. Not too good for Saudi Arabia, I would say. Conceal from Pink, but there's no real catch potential with the Gatot Kacha, at least now in the game. You go in with the AOG, and I think you probably might be the one punished. Bottom lane turret traded for the top tier 1. Yui Fendi is doing a good job of the scaling as well. Would love to see what Yui Fendi already has in the inventory right now. If it's a 2-item power spike already, Berserkers plus Haas Claws, or if she already has the 3. Because if she does have the 3, Pink, definitely just Pink, won't be able to take that damage. Melfic Roar should be all she needs on top of the Berserker's Fury and the Haas Claws to deal with Pink, especially with Revitalize. Full stacks in a team fight, Saudi Arabia might just be melted down completely. And Tagami, I wonder what her items are. She already has the War Axe, for sure, right?
Yeah, like what is a YSS build nowadays, you know?
Endless Battle, War Axe, BOD is literally the same build. I don't think there's any
Hasn't changed much
for the items. But yeah, if she gets the 3 items too, it'll be massive.
Look at
Purple
that.
buff, vision again. Rafa will retry it though.
Yeah, Rafa secures that, but you know, you're mentioning that Mount Chakra is enough. And I think that's why you see kind of a relatively low action game. Not only the fact that you just have so much healing on both sides and then double revitalize for Cambodia, but just because, like I said, Cambodia doesn't have to fight. If they don't want to take the fights against anyone from Saudi Arabia, that's fine. Yui Fendi, though, might be forcing one herself, trying to go over. That spear's going to land, too. Unfortunately, couldn't get through that wall with a slide tackle. And so she goes down, so Saudi Arabia will pick up a kill. They'll force these fights because they know Cambodia is playing a little bit passive for now. Down in the mid lane, they're going to go for the taunt. They get the Unbreakable off. The passive is there. Glorious Pathway drops down to Tagami, looking to see if she should join the fight. Lyrics takes a couple shots. The Eternal Guard won't land, but they got Navi in the exchange.
Oh man, this is a bad trade for Cambodia here. Lunar is getting all that space to just free farm. I'm surprised she didn't actually go for the turret tier 2 up top. Rafa though.
Rafa might jump in. She sees Tagami. Might try to do a little bit of damage in the mid lane though. Yui takes some herself and they back off once again. They disengage. And you're seeing the preview of Yui Fendi's damage. Like she's there, right? She has quite a bit of damage already, especially when she gets that stack. So now you're looking into this, you know, so far so good for Cambodia objectively, but can they go into a full team fight for this Lord? Taunt on Moshi. Moshi gets thrown to the wall. She tries to escape with the Glorious Pathway, but it's just too much damage coming through. So now with a numbers advantage here for Saudi Arabia, how do they play it? But they're so low in some of the health bars.
It's also the War Axe for the Fanny, by the way. Rafa will be going for the sustain build on this Fanny, so a longer skirmish will definitely help her out a lot with the new changes to the energy. You can actually stay in the team fights a lot longer with the cable, so I like how Saudi Arabia at least have adapted to the situation, right? They notice, all right, we have Lyrics, CC in the mid game as well. We should be able to actually shred down these tanky boys, the frontliners here. And that's what they do. Rafa.
Rafa, look at the damage. Navi couldn't even withstand that combo as she goes down. And so even though earlier on Rafa was down in terms of levels, she's doing good, turning things around now. The fight for the space around this Lord, they're just going for it. AOG drop down, multiple members really low as they fall for Cambodia. Moshi can't get away. Yui Fendi will be able to pick up the kill on the backside, and Rafa shows up. Yui Fendi fending for herself, doesn't take the spear right under the turret. And Tagami will charge up, so a good stand there. Coming out from Cambodia, oh, Rafa gets away with 1 HP.
Is the Eastern Shin versus the Fanny. You can already see it there. Oh man, super hype gameplay for Cambodia with Tagami on the Eastern Shin. That was super, super close. 5.4k only for the Fanny, so it's still a big lead when it comes to just gold. Disparity for Tagami. Rafa unable to get the angle to go for Yui Fendi, and now she has the Melfic gun. So we were expecting maybe Melfic Roar, Melfic gun, whatever it is, that's the 3-item power spikes that you need on the Bruno. And now with the extended range, you're going to deal so much more damage. You have so much range, so you can actually target down Lunar and Livin in these skirmishes. Let's see. Cambodia still have control despite losing some of the last few team fights. Their frontliners, as long as they stay intact, should be able to burst this down.
They're going to go for it. They saw Lyrics up top. They might force a fight. Tagami gets the Lord. They still might go for it a little bit further. Lyrics joining the fight, but they just disengage with that. So Interesting, Saudi Arabia, AOG, whoa, Pink jumping on in. Not sure if that's exactly what they wanted to do. It looked like they wanted to disengage, and then she jumps in with Avatar of the Guardian. But good decisive play from Cambodia when they saw Lyrics up top towards that minion wave. They're just like, you know what? Let's just go for the Lord.
Just go for the Lord. Just go for, you know, the decisive play onto the mutual objective again, because this composition is really good for that.
Whoa.
Breeze up top.
Bunch of damage to Lyrics, popping the Vengeance. We're trying to hold on to this tier 2.
lane.
Look at the mid lane too. Jungle battle, looks like the 1v1. This time we'll go to Rafa. Finally takes out Tagami, but they still have a lore to deal with. Now pushing into this bottom wave. The rest of the team of Cambodia will show up to see if they can push any further, even to the tier 2 in the mid.
So it's still a problem, right? Despite the fact that we were talking about how the Eastern Shin could work, the Mountain Shocker could reveal a lot of, you know, everybody around the map. The Vision game will be massive. Good taunt over.
Nice use of the taunt. AOG is actually going to land on Mushy. Glorious Pathway able to disengage, and now Lyrics jumping on the backside.
Whoa.
Trying to focus on Yui Fendi. Takes a ton of damage herself as she's gone, and now Rafa shows up. But she can't look at the angle she was looking for, so Lyrics goes down. It was a good attempt from Saudi Arabia again, but ultimately, Cambodia wins that one.
A bit disconnected in the initiation and the chase there. For Cambodia, it was just also playing into these very, very small areas where the Frigid Glacier gets immense value. Tagami, though, let's go back on that. It's still a big problem for her. The fact that the Fanny, if you are caught in like one of these big portions of the map where the Fanny can get those cables in, you will be assassinated. You're still a marksman. It doesn't matter if you're a war axe. It doesn't matter if you're half fighter. This can still be, you know, a game-changing Fanny pickoff one way or another in the late game.
Yeah.
If you get picked off, the death timer will be quite massive. The duration on that is going to be big. So I would say for Saudi Arabia, play in for Lunar and Rafa. Rafa trying to go for picks, Lunar trying to go for turrets in the side lane. Let Cambodia clump up together. Let them have that win over there, because if they just go and clump up together as well up against Cambodia and they go into that front to back, I don't know how they're going to deal with it. Even if they dive into the back line, late game, there's so many ways for Cambodia to already deal with that. Wind of Nature done for Yui Fendi.
Yep.
That'll stop a lot of the threat that Rafa can actually put down in the fights.
Not even just Rafa, but a lot of times we've seen Lyrics jump in, you know, towards Yui Fendi, and she's just at a point now where she's locked and loaded. She's got some of the defensive items that she needs to, so she's fine, you know? And here, this might be the initiation. Jump in with the Avatar of the Guardian. Moshi in trouble. Glorious Pathway already dropped down. Frigid Glacier will be the fight too as Pink goes down in the exchange, and Yui Fendi able to dodge that Spirit of Destruction. So now the 1-for-1 mid lane still breaking out a little bit further. But so far, Pink for Moshi. Lord is up, and Cambodia will start this one up.
They went for the pickoff strat, like we said earlier. They need to rely on the chaos, but Cambodia grouped up a bit too fast, and our Lord will just be blitzed down.
So quick. Rafa might be going for a kill here. Yui Fendi pops the Wind of Nature. She's going to be fine. Lunar in trouble, though. Will be able to get away, but can't escape fully. Now Nabi in trouble. She still has the passive. Lyrics in the exchange. Frigid Glacier comes down. A double for Nabi. What a pickup for Cambodia.
2 for 0 on top of it, an evolved Lord. No purple buff for Rafa either. Everything just turning around for Cambodia here, as that's a Malefic Roar for Tagami. The Malefic gun in the Wind of Nature. The Wind of Nature really, really saving Yui Fendi in the earlier skirmish. That was a big bait. The Antiquirus already built up for Rafa, but at this point of the game, I don't think the Antiquirus was actually the best item to get. There's no real, you know, ability damage. Most of the damage will be coming through from Yui Fendi and Tagami, which is going to be basic attacks, but let's see.
Gonna push.
Trying to defend.
Trying to defend here. Mount Shocker already down. Living so low. She's taken out by Tagami. And they get dropped down. They're still going to be pushing forward. Nabi only one down. They'd still get the turret finally. But the 2-for-1 trade. Lord still up. There's a good wave pushing up top of the Lord. It jumps into the turret. Topside turret going to be worked on. They should be able to clear this out. They might lose the turret, but right now, Saudi Arabia staying into this game. Yui Fendi also still front side. Immortality picked up by Yui. Rafa jumps in. They're trying to clear this the best they can. Lyrics just gone, deleted, and now the base is actually going to be worked on. They're trying to stay in the game. Rafa will be able to clear some out, but the waves are pushing in, and it looks like Cambodia will take it to a game 3.
The equalization from Cambodia 1-1. After all the stream matches, nice. So I thought we would never see the day where we can actually get a full series, but day 1 of the playoffs, it's already different. Cambodia able to go with their pocket pick, a cheese strat. You could say it's a cheese strat. We haven't seen Eastern Shin in what looks to be years. and we finally get to see it on the hands of Tagami. What a performance on the Yi Sun-shin. What a performance in the rest of the team to play around the Yi Sun-shin and wait for the mid-game as well. They did not get caught up in all the chaos, in the tempo of Saudi Arabia. They were trying to play it fast, but Cambodia, they stuck to their game plan.
They stayed with it. It was a relatively, if you remember, like early game was kind of slow. Like it was
Very
low kill
slow.
because it was Cambodia playing around the fact that, you know what, guys, here's our biggest advantage. Number one, we have 2 revitalizes.
Yep.
Number 2, we have vision because of the Mountain Shocker. You know, that is enough to deal with our decisions around the map, how we play into objectives, and how we kind of capitalize on those moments. And really, it just felt like there was a struggle there for a while from Saudi Arabia, eventually where it was like, you know, they're going fight after fight, but they weren't converting kills. And even though, remember, Rafa didn't go down. Like, Lunar was also deathless for a while, but it was the same thing. They just couldn't get to that point where they were converting kills and getting team fights in their favor.
Wow. So many things definitely for Leo Manjaro and Ren Marion to talk about with Eterna. So take it away. Do you like it? And catch this.
Thanks, boys. He caught it. And I'm gonna throw it again with the question: how do you like it?
Very much, because I was surprised. It looked like we ate our own words, but then at the same time we didn't, because literally everything we said that would happen to the YSS happened in the early to mid game. No, not even. A good chunk of the game. But then what we didn't expect was that at some point, the YSS would be untouchable.
It makes sense given how Saudi Arabia built their draft. Again, there's nothing that can actually come through to the back. And there's nothing that puts Livin in a position where she can actually affect the fights. I'm sorry for pointing out Livin, but this Vixana could not play her game. Sure, she could try and catch Moshi, Yui, Nabi, but the real targets were Tegami and Yui Fendi. So as long as these 2 cores, Mayusan and the Bruno, were wailing away, throwing out arrows, slashing them with their blades, throwing balls in their face, then that makes Cambodia's lineup work. And yeah, Cambodia were down on kills because they were throwing Moshi and Yui at Saudi Arabia. That's how it worked. Look, almost every single time you would look at the kill score, Cambodia were down. That's because they were using their bodies, their frontliners, their peel, very strategically.
Yeah, and it's wild to think that the difference between Saudi Arabia winning and Saudi Arabia losing was just another revitalize. That was pretty much it. Times where in Saudi Arabia, as expected, even though Livin would be able to get the damage, as you mentioned, onto Yui and Moshi, they just healed through it. That by the time that Saudi Arabia has done the damage that they could, even with Lunar still being able to free hit, well, the Bruno and the YSS were free hitting harder. Rafa had to wait. Rafa had to wait for her entry. While the Fanny's waiting, the Bruno and the YSS are happy. It's the reminder of why double MMs would work so well in our ranked games.
Which is partly why this is the conclusion we have, because technically, Yusujin isn't an actually full-on marksman.
Yeah.
Partly an assassin too.
Yeah.
Because as long as you can close the gap, weave in and out with your passive, you're dealing extra damage. Check out what that did to Rafa. She was forced to put money into an Antiquiras.
Yeah.
That's miserable as a Fanny. The fact that you're one of the few bursts that your team can rely on, that almost has very little conditions. Like as long as you find a good angle, you can pop Yui Fendi, you can pop Tegami. Maybe we saw it a couple of times, pop Nabi's passive. That's good. But she's so down on damage. I don't think there's enough damage between the War Axe, the Malefic Roar, and the Heptases. You definitely needed one more big ticket damage item there.
Yeah, which is why this is not the first time we see anti-harass on the Fanny. Actually, we're seeing it a lot more often, especially here in IESF, with the status of physical damage dealers in the game right now. The War Axe still leaning into it. I feel like could have been something else. I get it. You wanted the spell vamp, you wanted the more sustain, but then you sacrifice the damage. It's not all the time that you need to build the War Axe plus the anti-harass. The anti-harass would be good. That could have been a different item that deals good damage. BOD
Yeah.
would have been great. A little bit too defensive-minded, and yeah, eventually Cambodia just said, wait, we can just brute force it. Like literally just throw our bodies into it and they won't be able to do anything.
Yeah,
Honestly,
specifically, Moshi and Yui.
I think it was a Rafa thing. Because the last time she played the Fanny, she also built the anti-cuirass.
With the War Axe too, yeah.
So it feels like this is like a signature build that she went in with. It was not so much as respecting whatever damage that was given onto her in this particular engage, but it's just it's a comfort build that
Yes.
maybe didn't work out for her at the end. But I have a really big question, because when we were getting into the drafts, we were speaking about the fact that YSS, he's very vulnerable to engages, especially in the first few moments of the game. How was it that Tegami was able to hold on to a good level lead over the Fanny, as well as picking up all the neutral objectives, by the way?
Yeah. Okay, so there was one play that we highlighted earlier. I believe they were fighting around the purple buff. Tegami would eventually fall, but Yui Fendi was left and tried to take down the Fanny. Was not able to take down the Fanny. Fortunately for Tegami, excuse me, not Tegami, for Rafa, she wasn't able to take down Yui Fendi as well. So it sort of reset everything. So the timings of the Saudi Arabia team fights and the skirmishes, not always forced by them, sometimes even forced by Cambodia, weren't at the time where if after that team fight, they can push. After that team fight, they can go with a minion wave, take down a turret, or get the objective. It seemed like it was just so unfortunate that because of how long team fights went, the double revitalized on the side of Cambodia, that even though they would lose the fight, they couldn't, as the caster said, convert it into objectives.
Yeah, time was always on Cambodia's side. They were inevitably building up to a Yusun Shin that can carry, a Bruno that was almost untouchable, and the Aurora slowly but surely, especially since the front line for Saudi Arabia was a CC and a Gatot. Those are two heroes that when they're in, there's very little out. They have to win the fight for them to be able to get out. So if you're playing against Cambodia and these two marksmen in the Bruno and the Yusun Shin, that just punishes the kind of engage Saudi Arabia has. So that's maybe something that they have to consider in the draft. And going into game 3, think of how they can counter that. Like they have to have, weirdly enough, a better insurance policy. I think that's what they were lacking here.
So what would be that insurance policy, though? Because again, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the deciding game between both of these teams, whether or not they're going to be able to move forward or not. Everything is literally on the line for both of these teams. How can Saudi Arabia come back from this?
Oh yeah, the tough thing about that is I think Saudi Arabia just need to remind themselves, number one, they were surprised by a last pick. That's something that they really shouldn't be so hard on themselves about. They were surprisingly out-strategized. Cambodia knew that there was a chance Saudi Arabia would run away with this in the early, and they did. Run away with it even more in the mid, and they did. But then luckily for Cambodia, they already knew what they were going into, that just hold out, believe and hold out, and we can, and they did. So for Saudi Arabia, I feel like this is the part where you shouldn't so overthink it. Even though now that you know that the YSS is within the hero pool of Cambodia, try not to think that the next draft will involve the YSS again, because you might end up in a trap wherein you have way too much survivability for yourself. Let's say if they themselves get the high loss and the Hilda, or two heroes that can pack revitalize, but then you're lacking the damage. It's not the right damage profile. It's not a double marksman lineup that you're really just holding the front for so that they can free hit. If they do that, that's not going to work well for them. Just still stick back to your strengths, because this wasn't a bad draft. This was just a draft that, again, had some weaknesses exposed because they got outdrafted with surprise.
So it boils back down to the drafts, is what you guys are saying.
Definitely.
So execution, it couldn't have been done any differently from Saudi Arabia.
A glaring difference for me is the fact that Livin could not play. That Vixana was almost unfelt by Team Cambodia. So looking back at their hero pools, I'm going to dig deep and find a way to not overly force it. But yeah, number one, just putting into a small sentence what Renmar said, don't think of a permanent solution for a temporary problem.
Yeah.
Don't consider what just happened in Game 2 and look at it from a vacuum. Number two, consider trying to find a way to put Livin on something like a Sicilian. It's clear that Cambodia like to play in the paint. It's clear that Cambodia like to get in your face, whether it be with marksmen or with their heavy-duty frontliners. So if you can find a way to finesse a Sicilian into the draft, maybe sneak it into, if you're blue, that second pick here, Or if you're red, that last pick here, or even the very last pick, like that would be best case scenario. I think that should be it. I think that will get Saudi Arabia back in the driver's seat.
I'm gonna present an idea here from my own very crazy school of thinking.
Okay.
Moskov is cursed. It's not a super low win rate hero in the tournament, but it seems like when I see Moskov first phase for either blue side or red side, a part of me just goes, eh. I feel like they could have gone for something else at that time. So, you know what? I'm gonna present this very crazy, dare I say, maybe irresponsible idea. Whoever gets
Ooh.
Moskov in the next game might actually lose it.
If you're wrong,
If I'm wrong,
Shave your head.
nope, not that far. Maybe I'll just make sure I get to choose you two with very nice coffee.
okay.
I'll take it.
Take it.
Take it?
I'll take it.
All right.
You know, we'll hold on to, you know, Renmar with that. So coming back into the Moskov idea, and this brings me to my next question, I would say. It feels like now Saudi Arabia are put in a position where they might lack the hero pool to explore different options. Because if we take a look at every single player that they have, not to say that they don't have any surprise picks, you know, in their sleeves, but it's three, four at max heroes that they've utilized so far.
Do you just point at your sleeves?
Yeah,
Up their sleeves.
up their sleeves.
I like it.
I
Thank you.
don't think it's down to the cheese picks. I think all the heroes that they might want to pick, and in the order that they can, have already presented themselves. I think the solution for Saudi Arabia isn't necessarily something that we haven't seen before.
No, but my concern is that we've seen the Moskov in the early phase. It's because it's comfort. That's it. It might not work. It might not win lane. I mean, we know how, I would say, weak a Moskov is in lane, especially against particular matchups. Maybe that's why we saw the Bruno come out. And that's something that I think needs to be considered here for Saudi Arabia.
I mean, okay, just to make it clear that I'm not hating on the Moskov pick. I am hating on Moskov in general this tournament. Again, IESF kind of cursed, but in that scenario, it was right. They had the Fanny, and they took away the best hero that could potentially handle the Fanny split push.
Yeah.
It's not so clear-cut a relationship. You'd think that Fanny will just destroy Moskov even with a knockback. But throughout the world, we've also seen that Moskovs can somehow single-handedly stop a Fanny because of that knockback that a Moskov will have, or even get out of lane using the Spear of Destruction, join the fight. Suddenly it's 5v4 for the Moskov team and 4v5 for the Fanny team. So it was the right pick at that right time. I'm just saying is, again, connected to the idea that you're trying to present here, is that what if Saudi Arabia doesn't have surprises? And what if it doesn't already boil down? It will boil down to the surprises. Maybe that's actually me.
I don't know, me too.
it?
I could be as well.
Are we
Like,
just overthinking it?
What if they're limited to the box of that is their hero pool?
I don't think that should bother them because there are also limits that Cambodia have shown.
Agree.
They don't have a Hylas roam. Their assassins only come out in a very specific way. They do have the Cheese Yusun Shin and the Lancelot if necessary, maybe the Julian. But besides that, it's very tight for Tegami sometimes. So it's not like their opponents are unlimited hero pool goddesses, right? They still have to play within the meta. And right now, going into the draft, I don't know how, but Saudi Arabia still ended up on blue.
I guess that's the choice they went for, right? We're gonna clear that particular part of the rules maybe later on. But this is the insta swap, right? It was always the Matilda Chipaya,
Yeah.
but now we see the Hilda and the Nolan.
Oh.
That
Now,
means Zushin's open if they
Yeah.
want to.
no, I think Saudi Arabia, hopefully this is what they're getting at. They no longer ban chip blue side. Force Cambodia to think about banning chip blue side, and if that's left open, they pick it up for themselves. You
Yep.
mentioned it was Pink who was able to play that
Pink
chip
played it. Pink played it.
success. That might be the play here. Again, they could still ban it, but if they open up the chip and Cambodia doesn't pick it up, Saudi Arabia just might lock it in. I still think they take out the Matilda. They've been respecting the Matilda, and I feel like that's a sign that maybe that's not a comfort for them, so still take it out.
Wouldn't be against it. Last phase, last ban for the first phase for Saudi, Matilda, I'm all for it. Cover up your bases.
Yeah, and at the same time, you take away one hero that will be a problem for Livin. And you mentioned Livin not being able to play in the last one is
Yep.
what added problems for Saudi Arabia.
Or maybe they can play for a gambit for them to pick it.
Yeah.
You know, between a Matilda and a Chip, ask me now, I think the Matilda is more valuable.
No, yeah, of course. But then, again, I feel like maybe them banning it is them saying that it's also not a comfort for them.
I don't think Cambodia would let it go. Would Cambodia let it go?
Would Cambodia let it go?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Ah, yeah, you're right.
They can still go Chip here and then telegraph a Matilda or bust.
What if they ban like either one of the Alpha Suyo trades?
Because one, they're still open. They're still
Yeah,
open.
maybe even respect the Aurora, and then it's just up to Cambodia or the Wild West that they're gonna be left with. They ban the Fanny. So yeah, they do go for that route. They don't ban Chip anymore.
It's double jeopardy. Chip, Matilda, Alpha Suyo. Make my day.
Good move by Saudi Arabia. But honestly, at this point, if Cambodia will give the Chip, that's them saying we're prepared for it. That means they have something ready to respond to it. But with the Fanny
Let it go.
gone,
At this
just let
point,
it go.
right?
Let it go?
For Cambodia, let it go, no?
Let the Chip go. Ban
Let the chip
Matilda.
go, exactly. Take the Matilda Alpha.
The math is sound to me.
I feel like Saudi Arabia might be trying to bluff Cambodia into thinking that, hey, we have a Matilda with us.
Ban Suyo here instead. Oh, they don't want to do it. They go Matilda ban, but that does mean, ladies and gentlemen, the chip is open for grabs. Which team of the two will be comfortable enough to pick it up if it does even surface here in our third game of the series?
Lyric signature Phobius is still open too, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot of power picks.
I just hope we see the chip. Come on, please.
I mean,
the times where we saw the chip open, it wasn't picked in IESF.
The coaches can hear you right now.
Not by that much.
Not that I would consider, because again, if you're gonna go off of this weird voice that you just randomly hear, like that derails all your strats, all your prep.
Yeah. And yeah, they go for lyrics as comfort. So now they're telling each other, so which one of us is gonna pick the chip, huh? Come on, partner, lock that
Did
chip
they go
in.
Chip Alpha?
Chip out. I agree with the Alpha. Should be taken here.
Just solves the Phobius.
Are they gonna rush the high loss? I feel like they can hold back on their mid. Oh no, just pick up the Eve now. Just go high loss Eve or Alpha Eve.
Alpha Eve sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Chip might actually be a bait.
Yeah. Because I mean, again, when you're Phobius, there are two heroes you are not happy to go up against. There's a good amount, but Eve's one of them. Suyo, that's okay too. But no, they're still going for their comforts. They're just rushing comforts at this point.
Would it be comfort now, or is it now power pick?
Power pick, I
Power
feel like,
pick.
yeah, it's a good way to put it.
First time Suyo is unlocked.
Yeah. For Tegami.
Yep. Should change the tempo in the jungle, you know? So
Yeah.
far, she's always been, I'll dodge you until I'm ready to fight. Now I hope that she's the aggressor.
And I'm guessing, right, because they picked up the Phobius for Saudi Arabia, they can't go for something like the Khalid to go in very aggressively.
I haven't seen the Khalid in a while.
It can't be Khalid Rome, right?
Khalid Rome might actually just get outpoked by Aurora and whatever roamer you decide to pair with it.
Oh, here we
Finally!
go.
Finally get a Chip game. Thank you. Okay. So Chip and Harith are going to be fighting under the shortcut. They have the Salmon Force. Don't have to worry about an Eve. I think Cambodia will actually have to ban the Eve later on.
However, Valentina... Oh, no, they can't do that. They already picked up the Aurora. Okay, so that's going to be the answer here for Cambodia as we get into the second phase of the drafts now. What are we looking at?
Okay, in terms of the junglers, for sure they're going to take out Alpha now in this phase. Meaning that they don't have any hard catch. They might default and go Ling. Saudi Arabia might play the macro game. With Hilda gone, Fanny gone, Alpha gone. Yeah, Ling is the best option right now for Rafa unless Cambodia ban it. With the Nolan out of the board as well. So we're actually running out of junglers. The top meta junglers right now, unless Saudi Arabia surprise and they pick up and lean towards the utility type. Problem is, if they go for something like, for example, they go for Fredrin, Suyo can actually deal a good amount of damage to Fredrin that Fredrin's wondering, wait, what? I'm
Is
actually
this time
Yeah, I'm actually this squishy.
for Bane?
You know what? I won't. Sure. I won't mind.
Okay, but let's talk about the chip now. Okay, Bruno does get banned here from Saudi Arabia. Big respect over to Yui Fendi. So my question is, how do they counter this chip? Is Gatot enough? Do they go for something a little bit extra? Do they flex his
Yeah.
Gatot into the EXP lane? Go for
Yes.
something like the Carmilla, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking at. I wasn't thinking of Carmilla, but same with that idea. Flex it into the EXP, then maybe pick up something like a Tigreal. If you're not happy with your damage distribution, then you go Carmilla alongside the Gatot Kacha. Because I've experienced it myself. Going up against a chip, playing the Carmilla, I might not survive, but my job is to literally just get Curse of Blood down, and they will be linked. You don't need to aim it, you just press it. The moment the first set of heroes comes out, or the first set of heroes come out of the portals through shortcut, Curse of Blood's already locked in. And then that's already a big follow-up from everyone. The Pharom is banned though, even though they have the tools to deal with it.
I think it's more of a proactive ban. Because imagine a whole slew of heroes coming through with extra lives.
That's true.
Yeah, and
That'd be annoying.
Livin has it in her pool. Like they played it in the groups.
Yeah. I actually have not seen Eve and Chip together yet, so is there something about that maybe Cambodia's considering just giving?
Do they want to go Melissa ban here?
It feels like a nombo. I'll be real with you.
Moscow.
Chip and Chip
Real-world
and Eve feel like a nombo.
Yeah.
All right, Moscow gets banned by Saudi Arabia.
You mentioned Melissa, right?
Yeah, I was
So,
thinking Melissa.
For Cambodia.
Yeah, for them to pick up. I thought that maybe that Saudi Arabia would want to ban it out. I mean, considering it's AoE damage, it's also good lane against the Harith.
That actually might come in. For sure, you're not gonna pick up something like the Ixia because like, the Ixia is a little bit more in dire straits up against the presence of the chip. But the Melissa, at least if they go through, you got to go away. Oh, there it is, the Tigreal.
Power pick
Yeah.
for UA.
They're setting up for the most carry of all carries.
Yeah.
I think the Ixia is not so bad now.
Mia, nah. Oh, perfect time for Valen. You don't need to Eve, just go Valentina. Take the ultimate of the Tig, and every engage that Cambodia is doing and is now considering that they have 2 sets.
Does Yui Fendi have a Lunox?
Not that I'm aware of.
That would be good too. You're okay in lane. You're okay in lane. You can get away from a full-on portal attack.
She can go Bea.
That too.
There's a Bea option, yeah.
Bea 1-1 is an option.
Oh, they still go Vex, and oh, you mentioned it, Ling. That's a Ling locked in for Rafa. One of the choices that we decided, and with the presence of the Tigreal, and I really thought, I feel like the Valentina would have gone better, but you know what? No point crying over spilled milk. Hopefully, if this is a backlining marksman,
It's gotta be.
yeah,
Or a Lunox, one or the other.
I feel like the Lunox is too glass cannon. But to be fair, she might actually be able to get 2 down before she goes down herself, and then Suyo will just clean things up.
Technically, it's also kind of safe with her kit against the Ling.
Yeah.
And the Phobius and the Chip.
But you mentioned the Melissa, and I like the Melissa now. The more I think about it.
Especially
The
with the
Melissa
Ling.
Ling? That's okay?
Ah, okay.
Nice.
They still go for the Lunox. This is gonna be a fight. This is gonna be. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of deaths in this game, and in a good way. I don't mean that in the best way possible. It's a lot of brawls. You have one team that can play the map significantly better, but then at the same time you have a team that might actually just absolutely brute force through the lineup on the other side. Saudi Arabia can play this. Have to play this in a very technical, smart way. You know, think about so many things. While Cambodia says, "G, let's go."
I hope Saudi Arabia make the most of the fact that they have a Ling and a Chip. I don't want to see that Ling hop in through that portal. I want that Ling to be coming in, delayed entry, waiting for everyone from Team Cambodia to have spent their ults and all of their mobility skills, and then cleaning house. That's where I see Rafa coming from, which means Team Cambodia's lineup I have very little demands for. it's so
Yeah.
much easier for them to make this work and to counter whatever's coming through the portal.
Exactly. Cambodia's lineup looks like it's easier to pull off. Saudi Arabia has a lot of layers.
I'm nervous, guys. I'm nervous for both of these teams because, again, this is the final. We're at the final game in this best-of-3 series. Who will be moving forward against Ukraine later on? Will it be Team Saudi Arabia or will it be Team Cambodia? Only time will tell, and we're gonna throw you guys over to our casters. Mirko Naisu, take it away.
Thank you so much again to our panel. Man, it's true. It's going to be very
It is.
brawly. It's going to be a battle, a
lot of
real
deaths.
battle. Chip, Tigreal, Gatot, everybody gets into the portal. There's going to be someone that comes in from the sky, someone who implodes, and then a
Someone
whole
that
lot
gets
of
frozen.
AoE. There's so many combos, possible combos here. I'm really excited for this draft to be the decider of who gets to be eliminated, who gets to the next stage.
It's been a
Lower
minute.
bracket semi. Oh man,
We've had 3-game series.
it's been a minute. What? How long is your minute actually now? Like
I'm just gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave that.
Like what, 2
always
days,
as a
right?
question. Yeah, 2 days.
2 days since like the men's? where we
Somewhere
had
around
best
that
of three?
time.
All right, but ladies and gentlemen, this is an elimination matchup. Whoever wins here will go on to face off against Ukraine, who's able
Yep.
to do it 2-0
Be
against
2-0.
Nepal. Here it is, game number 3, into the line of dawn we go. Taking a look at the emblems here, it's the Warcry for the link. Nothing too crazy if I take a look at the emblems here, actually. For everybody, it's pretty standard. Just a whole lot of emphasis for clear. It's all about clear for Moshi and Ue. That's why it's Concussive Blast. Prio is, at most Prio, actually. So Prio is Prio.
Prio's Prio at this point. You know, and when it comes down to this best of one, I am glad to see the chip come through. But I'm also a little worried, and I share the sentiment with our panel, of course, and everything else, because, like, we've all seen this. This is usually the classic answer for a chip. The Aurora. Like, here comes the shortcut. Next thing you know, everyone's frozen, you know? And I feel like it makes it a little bit easier when you do that, too, because of the fact that you have a Tigreal with you. You can kind of combo those with the Implosion if you need to. And like you said, even the jump from the Avatar of the Guardian from Moshi is going to play a big part of this. And they also have a Revitalize, right? So on the other side, Saudi Arabia, we've seen so many, I want to say like 9 out of 10 matches, both sides have at least had a Revitalize for the most part. Already early action here under the bottom lane. In trouble. They're going to actually go for it. Rafa gets the passive off. Still looking for the kill on Navi. And she'll get the first blood. Still trying to stay alive, but Yui Fendi gets that one. She flickers forward and gets a double for Cambodia.
Whoa, interesting. Cambodia winning on the early skirmish. That was to be expected, to be fair, with the Lunox, but Rafa, I think she kind of miscalculated not using a Tempest of Blades there. Was saving it a bit too long and then didn't expect the burst coming down for the Suyo. Tagami was able to just clean up together with Yui Fendi. 2 kills for the Lunox in a winning matchup already,
That's
Naisu.
massive.
That's looking bleak for Lunar. You can already see the pressure down there in the bottom lane. Very low Lunar.
I don't know. Does Yui Fendi go for more? She knows she has a level advantage. Doesn't have to worry about the Zaman Force. Not sure if she's actually even going to be able to get more from that, but Turtle's up now. They're going to fight for it. Cambodia forcing Pink off from that area. This time around, we saw Lyrics do this with the Phobius in game number 1. Great pick for her, but I don't think you can really contest this first Turtle. Looks like so far so good, unless Rafa tries to go for the steal with the Retribution. It is in range, and Tagami will secure the Turtle. You have to deal with this. Rafa, touch the blades. She's just going to have to get engaged. But they drop down the Eternal Guard. Still looking for more. Frigid Glacier will be dropped. Lyrics in trouble herself as Tagami picks up a kill.
And Cambodia taking back control. Amazing AOG from Moshi in the pit. Stopping Rafa, who was using a Finch Poise. Got a great angle to maybe just possibly get the steal over against Cambodia. But the CC, man, very heavy CC. A lot of prio. This is why we were talking about it. Prio is going to be super prio. And so far, Cambodia does have the lead when it comes to that. They have the advantage. They have 2 concussive blasts. That'll mean they're going to be able to clear out the waves much faster compared to Saudi Arabia. But if Saudi Arabia are able to clear and match up against that aggression, I honestly think they still have a chance, right? As long as they don't play in towards this lane. Don't go for the Herald lane. The Lunox will just deal so much damage on top of the combos that they already have. If they play up top, I think the Phobius will be enough to actually disrupt some of these full all-in kind of combos, and then you have a link to clean up, right?
Yeah.
So there is a way to still win out on the brawls. Just stay away from bottom lane, man. But Cambodia, they know that they want to play in the bottom lane.
This is really dire right now for Pink and Lunar. There's the jump. Avatar to the Guardian. Drop it down. Zaman forced two. Yui Fendi just unleashing. She'll be able to find Lunar. Nabi does go down, and now Rafa jumping into the fight. Tagami has to back off too, and that might be all they get. That's what we were saying. You know, the burst damage from Yui Fendi, and I believe she just rushed Glowing Wand was her first item. She picked it up right away. So that little bit of extra burn, plus that, you know, cutting off some of that healing, some of that shielding that is going to come through in any way, even if it's a brave smite, right, from Lyrics. Later on, she'll have that upper hand, but yeah, that gold lane, I feel like you just kind of ignore it for now and look elsewhere if you're Saudi Arabia.
Definitely. Turtle number 2 spawning in the game, Cambodia. This is really, really good for them. The fact that Yui Fendi, not only did she get another kill, she got half of the turret going to the bottom lane, and the Turtle's going to be spawning in the bottom lane. So again, strong side for Cambodia is just playing for Yui Fendi. At this point, it's a glowing one first item, but I think they will be able to actually, if they get a good combo in, Yui Fendi gets the Ruby DD combo,
Yep.
some HP bars are just going to get absolutely deleted, dropped down. Especially considering now there's not a lot of purifies, right? Most of them actually did not go for the purifies. So get caught in the Frigid Glacier, the implosion, it's going to be really easy. You're all very vulnerable. And that's why Saudi Arabia, they know better than that, and then to actually fight this out with having no purifies.
Even with this, I know we've been talking about this ever since we started the tournament for WEC. Man, Suyo's damage, even with the Soul Stumper, still does so much. I know that hotfix went through, but you just take care of these turtles so quickly that you don't have much of a choice. Pink gonna be in trouble here. Just multiple members collapsing down on Pink, and this is why we were talking about it. You see it, the Sky Piercer, second item picked up for Yui Fendi. That's confidence, man.
That is crazy. Lunox Sky Piercer second item. I mean, it's not too crazy after taking a look at the stats, 3-0. We were talking about how Yui Fendi, just having 3 kills alone without the Sky Piercer, you're going to be deadly to Saudi Arabia's composition. Now you add a Sky Piercer in, still 0 stacks by the way, so technically there's still a way for Saudi Arabia to shut her down.
Yeah.
If you get that shutdown and you continue just maybe snowball the
Just
snowball.
you know, I was gonna say.
You can win it out. What are the chances of that happening though, knowing that Lunar is that far down in terms of gold? Damage though, she's actually been doing a lot of damage, Lunar. 9.3k, so consistent damage all around, great. But then we take a look at the gold lead, and it's a 1,000 gold lead between the gold laners.
Again, I think when you look at that damage dealt, it's almost a little, you know, misconstrued.
Decisive.
Yeah.
It's very deceptive.
Yeah, because when you drop down the Zaman Force, you know, you're hitting multiple members, whereas again, Yui Fendi is just, she's bursting at least one person down, especially the way she uses her Chaos Bolts and everything else. But, you know, when you look at this, there's still a tension here on the bottom side. Conceal going to come through from Yue. She's going to force Lyrics back a little bit. Lunar knows that she's in a tough position. Everybody is here, but they might not fully commit to it, so they just go ahead, rotate to this turtle. It is the last one of the game, and if Cambodia gets the 3 for 3, they're going to be in a really good position for that first lore.
They already are. 3,000 gold lead up ahead. They can play it slow. They still have very good scaling as they have a Lunox in the gold lane. And now, turtle control again should really go towards Cambodia. Bottom lane should be a turret. At least Saudi Arabia will be getting a trade off the bat. As well, trying to get full 5-man dive.
Yeah, Yui, 1 versus 3 at least for now. She's forced off the turret. That was the shortcut drop down too. So Takami gets the turtle. Cambodia now 3 for 3. They're going to force the fight. Implosion won't land who they're looking for. Livin had to burn the flicker. Now Cambodia, with the objectives that they got, they don't have to force a fight. There's a push though from Rafa up top, at least to get the tier 1, but Tagami gets that tier 1 in the mid lane, and now Pink jumps on in. I'm not sure what she was looking for. She'll get taken out, cut off from the team, and now they collapse down Frigid Glacier to follow through. Lunar will be able to escape. Rafa doesn't have the purple buff, so she's thinking about joining the fight. Nabi already passed him down. There's Rafa jumping in to clean up the kill. Soul Sever going to be used. Tempest Blades on the defense, and Moshi still alive for now with 1 HP. Rafa jumps back in. Lyrics goes down 2, falling here in Cambodia. We'll be able to get some kills that maybe they shouldn't have, and now they're looking to take this buff away from Rafa.
Still no shutdowns though earlier, so it actually is still worth it for Cambodia. Having a 2-for-1 trade, only losing your mid laner that so far in this game has purely been utility. Nabi has only been used as a way to actually bait. Pink almost going for the crash course there, wants to respect it here, even though she has the shortcut, knows that Yui Fendi has brilliance. But again, for Nabi, she's just really been used as bait with the passive or utility, pure utility, getting the stun off, Frigid Glacier, freezes for all the others, or just as follow-up. So again, no shutdowns at all for the side of Saudi Arabia. If they want to really look for a comeback in gold, they're going to have to start targeting Tegami, Yui Fendi down. 3-0, 3-0. Some juicy bounties there.
Oh, yeah. If they are able to capitalize on that, and they can turn the tide in their favor a little bit here, that'd be great. Saudi Arabia has to deal with this. Again, a conceal play constantly used down here on the bottom side. They want this tier 1 to open up the map a little bit further. Pink dropping down the shortcut. Everybody going to show up. Eternal Guard going to crash on Yui Fendi, but the Frigid Glacier will find almost everybody. Rafa tries to do something, but it's a triple kill for Tegami. And that's what we were talking about. Every time the chip drops the shortcut, man, do you have to watch out for the Aurora ultimate.
Wombo combo! Implosion onto all of them, the AoE from Tegami, the Frigid Glacier to freeze them, and then boom, AOG from the top. I mean, we can add on to Yui Fendi's damage too, but that would be pretty overkill. And now, still 0 stacks in the Sky Piercer. Unfortunately for Yui Fendi, she got that at 3 kills, and she's still at 3 kills. But I don't think she actually cares that much, right? A win is a win. And now it's a 6,000 gold lead. They have doubled their lead now since the last skirmish, and it will be a free Lord for sure. When you have a Lunox and a Suyo, dude, you execute this Lord like it's nothing.
Gone.
You use that ult on Lunox and then execute with the Soul Sever. It's
like
gone.
a Lith Wander.
It's a second.
Is that a little
It's
too
a
much?
lethal Wander? No. I don't even think it's a lethal, bro. That would be disrespectful to the lethal. I think it's a minion at
It's
that
a
point.
minion.
The Lord is literally just a minion to Lunox and Suyo. And now, I don't know. What do they do? Because defense sieging is not the best for Saudi Arabia.
It's
Wave
not.
clear is not the best. They actually do really well when they get skirmishes, pick-offs on the map with the chip, and unfortunately, every single time chip teleports, they get teleported into an implosion, man. They get teleported into...
Yeah. You'd almost second guess
Aurora.
that shortcut. You know, you'd be like, are you sure you want me to go through this? Like now they're going to have to defend the base. Holy Shields will be popped in the mid lane. Even just a shot from range. I think a couple members low, but they deal with the Lord. Holy Shields are down. Cambodia, what more do they look for? They might want to get that tier 2 in the bottom lane. But Saudi Arabia definitely is just holding out into this game 11 minutes in.
Man. And now Cambodia are just going to be very happy playing it slow. They don't need to push anything, right? They can actually just stop pushing every wave, freeze it out, and then go for Lord. But they can also just do this. Cut them off from their own turrets and take it down. Lyrics. There's no real engage, man, for Saudi Arabia. Usually, there's a lot of ways for a team to actually still come back despite being this far behind, right? Usually you have like a late-game marksman or a game-changing ultimate. But honestly, for Saudi Arabia, the game-changing ultimate is just the chip. And Cambodia's composition makes the ult that's game-changing not game-changing.
Yeah, it does.
It makes it pretty basic in this game, and it's an endless battle for Rafa. And I guess all eyes on Rafa right now. If she can actually go into the bottom lane or into the side lane and utilize the side lane control to get turrets and look for trades, maybe there will be an angle, there will be a window of opportunity that opens up for Saudi Arabia to come back. But if they just play it in a 5v5 fashion, there's no way you 5v5 against this combo.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, even with that, you know, trying to work into this, and you look, I think you really painted the picture here for Saudi Arabia's lineup. They don't have much of an angle to initiate fights. I know we have Lyrics here, and she had a phenomenal game in game number 1, but this time around, she's nearly been shut down, you know, and she did pick up a Radiant Armor. She's got that and Thunderbelt is pretty much all she has. So then she relies on Vengeance and Brave Smite. But as we've been seeing from all these skirmishes and team fights, man, Cambodia just has too much. You know, too much CC, too much burst potential with Yui Fendi alone, that it's really difficult to actually turn those fights in your favor. Now, if some way, somehow, Saudi Arabia is able to extend the game nearly to the 20-minute mark, they might be in a better position to catch them off guard utilizing the chip. That's always something that could happen. But right now, I'm not sure if Cambodia even wants to let that, you know, be a possibility, because they just go for this Lord and they get ready for this next march-in.
So they get the minion, the enhanced Lord at this point, right? 13 minutes in. We have to have like an asset later on in the future where whenever we have a Lunox and like a Suyo or a super fast composition to take Lord, just a counter there.
How
like,
fast?
How fast do you take the Lord? There has to be like a world record or something, right? Purple Buff taking, Toa connecting, and Moshi can take all that and still survive. No Revitalize, no sweat.
I'm surprised too because, you know, that's all for the purple buff, and they'll eventually get ready for this march in. And I think still it's, you got to look at, is Saudi Arabia ready to defend against this? You know, they can stall out a push for a while, but you look at that clear speed, man, it's not there. Because even for Rafa, if they want to go ahead and keep things under control and try to clear things out, she might have to be forced to use attempts to blades. And then, of course, you know, you're just relying on Lunar to drop that Zaman force. She pushed that top side a little bit into that tier 2. The rest of the team going to hold it down in the mid lane. The charge comes from the Lord. Working on that mid base turret. It goes down. Avatar the Guardian coming through from Moshi. Moshi will take quite a bit of damage. Frigid Glacier going to be able to find 2 into the Soul Sever from Tagami. Lyrics in trouble as well. The Brilliant's already going to be used. And they go in a little bit further. Still, all members of Cambodia alive. A double coming from a Tagami. The flicker forward, the implosion also. And Lyrics trying to keep it together. But she falls. Now 3 members down. And it looks like Cambodia off a triple, off another kill, and a wipeout will take the series 2-1.
They complete the reverse sweep. The early lead for Saudi Arabia, 1-0. We saw the emotions on stage. We saw just how much pressure was on them. Cambodia, one of the tournament favorites in WEC24 IESF, man, for MLBB women's. And they come back with such composure.
Yeah.
Game 2, phenomenal stuff, bringing out the Heesun Shin. A pick that not all of us were really, you know, supporting.
Or thought about.
It was doubted. For sure it was. Everybody, even the people watching back at home, when they saw the Heesun Shin, there were a lot of head shakes.
Yeah.
But for Tagami, it was another day. And it was just phenomenal.
Phenomenal game, because even if when you look at it, man, like